Somewhere on a dealership floor right now, a salesperson is running a script, not a scam, a script. A sequence of questions and conversations refined over decades, tested across thousands of buyers, designed to guide your attention toward the wrong number, the wrong feature, or the wrong moment to say yes. It works on smart people. It works on people who spent weeks researching the car they want. It works because the process is designed to keep the conversation moving, one reasonable sounding question at a time, until you're making decisions faster than you're evaluating them. This isn't a video about hating dealerships. Most salespeople are professionals doing exactly what they've been trained to do, and many genuinely want to help their customers. This is a video about understanding the process as well as they do. Not every dealership uses every tactic, and not every buyer will encounter every one of these moments. But somewhere between the first handshake and the moment you're handed the keys, there are a handful of decisions where buyers quietly lose money, leverage, or both. None of them are illegal. None of them require you to be paranoid. You just have to recognize them while they're happening, not a week later when the paperwork is already signed and the deal is done. 10 moments, 10 opportunities to avoid mistakes that thousands of buyers make every year. And we're starting with the one that costs people the most money while feeling the least like a negotiation, because it doesn't sound like one. It sounds like a friendly question. Trap 1, the monthly payment trap. What payment were you hoping to be at? It sounds like a helpful question, the kind a good salesperson asks to save you time. It's actually one of the most powerful sentences in the entire sales process, because the moment you answer it, you've shifted the conversation away from the price of the car and toward the monthly payment, often before the actual negotiation has even begun. Here's why it works. A monthly payment is just 3 variables squeezed into one number: price, interest rate, and loan term. Stretch the term from 60 months to 72 or 84, and almost any price fits almost any budget. Depending on the lender and your credit profile, the specific math will vary, but the trick is structural, not specific to one bank or one dealership. The dealer isn't lying about the payment. They're just choosing which lever to pull to get there, and it's rarely the lever that saves you money over the life of the loan. The payment may be exactly what you asked for. The question is, what had to change to make that payment possible? This is why 2 buyers can walk out with the identical monthly payment and wildly different outcomes. One paid a fair price over a reasonable term, the other paid an inflated price stretched over years longer than they meant to, quietly financing thousands of dollars they never actually negotiated on. The fix is simple, even if it feels awkward in the moment. Negotiate the total price first, as its own conversation, completely separate from payment or financing. Once the number on the sales contract is settled, then talk term and rate, one at a time. Monthly payments are designed to feel affordable. Prices determine what the car actually costs. Never negotiate the feeling before you've negotiated the number. Trap 2, the trade-in game. If you're trading in a car, the dealership just became 2 negotiations wearing one coat, and the second negotiation, what they'll give you for your old car, is where a lot of that great deal on the new one quietly disappears, often without you ever noticing the swap. The move here isn't dishonest so much as strategic sequencing. If the trade-in value and the new car price get discussed together, a dealer can appear generous on one number while quietly making it up on the other. Depending on the dealership and current used car demand, the gap between a trade-in offer and what you'd get selling the same car privately can be significant, sometimes thousands of dollars, or barely worth the hassle of selling it yourself. You won't know which until you actually check both. Depending on where you live, trading in may also reduce sales tax on your next vehicle, which can narrow that gap between a trade-in offer and a private sale. The reason this works so well is convenience. Trading in means one transaction, one trip, no strangers coming to look at your car in the driveway. Dealerships know that convenience has a price, and they're often willing to let you pay it without ever stating so directly. So get an independent trade-in estimate before you ever walk in, and just like the payment trap, insist the trade-in value be negotiated as a completely separate line item from the new car's price. 2 deals, 2 conversations, no blending. The moment those 2 numbers become one conversation, it becomes much harder to tell where the discount ends and the trade-in begins. Trap 3, market adjustments and hidden fees. Right below the factory window sticker, the one BMW itself printed with BMW's suggested price, Some dealerships add their own. It goes by different names depending on the market adjustment, additional dealer markup, sometimes just a dollar figure with no label at all, quietly added to the bottom line. These fees exist because they can. A market adjustment isn't part of BMW's suggested retail price. It's a dealer pricing decision. Some dealerships add one because demand allows it, when a specific trim, color, or performance package is in short supply, or a new model just launched to strong demand. Others rely on dealer-installed accessories or documentation fees that vary by state and dealership, which is a different category entirely and worth telling apart on the invoice. This is also one of the more geographically inconsistent traps. The same car, the same month, can carry a real markup at one dealership and none at all 30 minutes down the road. Scarcity is local, and so is the willingness to charge for it. The fix is knowing the factory price cold before you walk in and treating any addendum sticker as the opening bid in a negotiation, not a fixed cost. If one dealer won't move, another dealership, or simply waiting for supply to improve, may give you better options. Trap 4. Dealer add-on packages. Nitrogen in the tires, fabric protection, VIN etching, paint sealant. Each one gets a name that sounds technical and a price that sounds small until they're stacked together on the final invoice and the small numbers add up to something that isn't small at all. These packages exist because they're close to pure profit for the dealership, often installed at a fraction of what they're sold for, sometimes for less than the sticker price of the etching kit alone. Some have real value depending on your climate and how long you plan to own the car. Why paint protection film in a region with heavy gravel roads, for instance, genuinely earns its keep. Most don't move the needle at all and exist purely because a certain percentage of buyers won't ask questions. The percentage of buyers who simply accept these line items without asking is exactly why they keep appearing on invoices year after year. The moment more people push back, the packages get quieter, but until then, they're worth actively questioning every time. Ask for a full breakdown of every add-on before you agree to anything, and treat each one as optional, because nearly all of them are. If a package was already installed before you arrived, that's a negotiating point, not a requirement you're stuck with. Trap 5. Finance office upsells. By the time you reach the finance office, you've usually already agreed on a price. You're relieved. You want to be done. By the time you reach this room, most buyers are mentally ready for the process to be over. Extended warranties, gap insurance, tire and wheel protection. Some of these genuinely make sense depending on your loan structure, how long you plan to keep the car, and whether BMW's factory coverage already overlaps with what's being offered. Some products, like gap insurance, can make a lot of sense if you're financing with a small down payment or a long loan term. Others depend entirely on how you plan to own and use the car. The problem isn't that these products exist, it's that they're often presented once, quickly, bundled together at the exact moment you're least likely to push back or ask what any of it actually costs elsewhere. Coverage overlap is the detail most buyers never check. Before buying additional coverage, understand exactly what BMW's factory warranty already includes, when it expires, and whether the new product extends or duplicates that protection, because finding that out after the fact is far more common than it should be. Ask what factory coverage already includes before adding anything on top of it, and ask to take every add-on home to think about. A legitimate offer survives that request. One that only works in the room, that expires the moment you stand up, usually isn't one you needed. Trap 6. Certified pre-owned myths. Certified pre-owned sounds like a guarantee. It's really a checklist. The checklist is standardized, but the condition of the vehicle and the repairs needed to meet that standard can vary from car to car. The BMW CPO program does include real standards, a multi-point inspection, an extended warranty, specific mileage, and age limits the car has to fall within. But certified describes a process that was followed, not a guarantee that every possible issue was caught during that process. Even a thorough inspection has limits. Some issues only appear under certain conditions or develop after the inspection has been completed. This is worth sitting with for a second. The badge is a summary. The inspection report tells the real story, and it's one you're entitled to see in detail, item by item, not just as a pass or fail. The fix: ask for the actual CPO inspection checklist, not just the badge, and consider a pre-purchase inspection from an independent BMW specialist regardless of certification. A badge is reassurance. An independent second opinion is verification, and the two are not the same thing, no matter how the badge is presented. Trap 7. The test drive isn't enough. 15 minutes. A quiet loop with 2 stoplights and 1 on-ramp. That's the test drive most buyers get, and whether by convenience, policy, or habit, it rarely exposes the conditions you'll actually live with once the car is yours. A short, controlled route can hide exactly the things you need to know: how the car behaves over rough pavement, how it responds cold on the first start of the day, whether a known issue for that generation, like certain steering or suspension quirks reported on specific chassis and model years, actually shows up in this particular example on this particular car with its particular maintenance history. Cold starts matter more than most buyers realize. Certain issues, lifter tick, rough idle, delayed throttle response, only appear in the first few minutes after a cold start and disappear once the engine's warm. Many test drive cars are already warm by the time a customer arrives, which means some cold start symptoms may never appear during the drive. Ask to start the car cold before the engine's been run that day, and ask to drive a route with some rough surface, not just a showroom loop. If those requests aren't possible, ask why, and decide whether you're comfortable making a purchase without that information. Trap 8. Service history matters more than mileage. Mileage gets all the attention on a used car listing. It's the biggest number on the page, printed in bold, sorted, and filtered by nearly every search tool. It's also by itself one of the least useful numbers for judging a BMW's actual condition. A car with 80,000 careful documented miles, fluids changed on schedule, wear items replaced proactively before they failed, can be in dramatically better shape than one with 50,000 miles and no paper trail at all. Depending on how the vehicle was actually serviced, low mileage can just mean deferred maintenance wearing a lower, more attractive number. The pattern matters as much as the total. A car serviced consistently at regular intervals tells a very different story than one with a cluster of recent repairs right before it was listed for sale. The second pattern often means problems were patched up just enough to get through a sale, not actually resolved. Ask for full service history before mileage even enters the conversation, and treat a missing service record as a bigger red flag than a higher number on the odometer. The paperwork tells you how the car was treated. The mileage only tells you how far it went. Trap 9. Ordering versus buying what's on the lot. That exact spec isn't available, but we do have this one. It's one of the most common sentences in BMW sales, and depending on how badly you want to drive home today, it can leave you paying for options or packages you never intended to buy, and over the life of ownership that can add up to far more than you expected. Ordering a BMW to factory spec usually means a longer wait and weeks or months, depending on the model and current production timelines, but it also usually means less pressure to accept options, colors, or packages you didn't actually want. A car already sitting on the lot has its own momentum. It's paid for by the dealership, accumulating floor plan cost every day it doesn't sell, and that urgency only becomes your urgency if you allow it to. The gap here isn't always about price on paper, it's about paying full price for options you didn't want, bundled into a package, specifically because the car needed to move. A cost that never shows up as a line item, just as a slightly worse fit for years of ownership. On the other hand, dealerships may also offer meaningful discounts on in-stock inventory, especially toward the end of a model year or when they're trying to reduce stock. The key is making sure you're choosing the car because it fits your needs, not because it happened to be available today. Ask whether the exact configuration you want can be ordered before settling for what's in stock, and decide in advance how much waiting is actually worth to you. Patience is a negotiating position. Impatience is a discount for the dealership, not for you. Trap 10. Delivery day mistakes. Delivery day feels like the finish line. It's designed to feel that way. The paperwork's nearly done. The car is right there gleaming under the showroom lights, and every part of the moment is built to move you toward the door quickly, keys in hand. That speed is exactly when a rushed walkthrough skips features that depend on model, software version, and market. Features you might not discover for months, at which point they're just how the car is, not something you asked about at delivery when someone was still there in person to actually show you. It's not unusual for buyers to discover well after delivery a driving mode, a climate feature, or a safety system they never had explained, simply because the walkthrough was compressed into the last 5 minutes before the paperwork was signed. Take the time delivery day rarely offers on its own. Ask for a full walkthrough of every system before you sign the final paperwork, and don't let the finish line feeling rush a conversation you'll wish you'd had later alone, with the owner's manual and no one left to ask. The deal isn't done when you sign, it's done when you understand the car you just signed for. None of these 10 moments require a lawyer or a financial expert to navigate. They require the same thing every time: knowing the move before it happens. A dealership's process only works on buyers who don't know it's a process. Once you do, the leverage in the room changes, and not because you got tougher or more confrontational, but because you got informed before you ever sat down. The best deal isn't the one you fought hardest for in the moment. It's the one you saw coming from 10 steps away. From all of us here at Bimmer Insider, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.